there's a piece from Midrash Ne'elam, Zohar Chadash on Efrat. I only brought a small part of it on your pages. What I have here is a little bit longer, but I'll read it because somehow in the last couple of years I felt it helps me connect emotionally to Tisha B'Av. Not that this year we have trouble connecting to Rabbanit. This description it's part of the Zohar. It actually describes the she said I must remember. So taltala, how would you say, like the shaking up, the uprooting, and mostly the feeling like an orphan that Am Yisrael experienced after Shekhinah left Mokdש and Mokdש was destroyed. I'll even say one thing before that. No, I don't. Okay, well, so I'll read a little bit in Aramaic. You don't necessarily have it by you. There were parts that you'll see that you have, just so you get the sound of it, and then I'll read the translation. Say that. So, ואנה נתמין בלא אבא ואמא, ומסתכלין עינין לחותלי ביתה דאימנה, והאית חרב, ולא ישכחנה לה, והווה ינקלן בכל יומה, ביומין קדמאין, משפירו דילי, והווית נחתימת לן, וממללת על ליבנה כאימא לברה. I'll read the translation. And we are orphans without father and mother. That is, Kuchabrichu, blessed be he, and the Shekhinah. And from here on, they'll relate to the Shekhinah leaving the Mokdש as losing a mother. For the Shekhinah has left the land of Israel for exile, and our eyes look to the wall, the house of our mother, and behold, it is destroyed, and we have not found her. She who used to nurse us every day in the early days from her choicest abundance, and she would comfort us and speak to our hearts like a mother to her son. And now our eyes look to every side, and the place of our mother's dwelling has been refused and can probably different, more closer to, and behold, it is destroyed. We beat our heads against the walls of our house and her dwelling. Who will comfort us? And who will speak to our hearts? And who will defend us before the king? When we would sin before our father, and he would raise the whip to strike us, she would stand before us and receive the king's blow to protect us. And by her wounds we were healed. And now we have no mother. Woe, woe to us. And now, woe to you. It is fitting for us to weep. It is fitting for us to lament. It is fitting for us to explain these bitter words in the book of Efrat and Kinot, to make known to them, to those who know how to weep, the words of the eulogy. This last part has to do with Shekhinah being the dwelling in Bet HaMikdash, and each person from Am Yisrael, it's all one, and we're all about Yehud. But when we speak in language of Kabbalah, they often speak of the different faces of Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the one who would be Midat Adin and would need the, how they're describing here in the whip, is the Kuchabrichu, and the Shekhinah in the Mokdש is the one that accepts the kapara, the forgiveness. Okay, and if there's no Shekhinah and you can't bring korbanot and you can't get forgiveness, so you're only there facing the din without any way to soften the blow. Okay, now this language that's multifaceted when it relates to Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's very difficult for people with a Litvic upbringing like myself, but it's a language that comes to say this relationship has many faces, and in the laws of Mokdש, Dafka, what was lost is the ability to forgive, the ability to contain, the motherly quality of having a home. Rav Shagal spoke in length that it's not only a specific home that was lost, but the beitiyut, the ability to feel at home in the world. Okay, people felt uprooted. They felt like there is no home for them. Not only that this specific Mokdesh was destroyed. There's a sentence here that says, for us it is feeling to weep to those who know how to weep. Okay, Le'ela Yudim Livkot. And there's something about Yudim Livkot that is a quality that's, on one hand, this year, Dim'atenu Metzuya, okay? And on the other hand, sometimes you feel so overwhelmed that you can't, you would like to cry and you won't. And I feel throughout this year that our biggest challenge, or maybe our biggest mission, is to be the CEO of our own resources. Okay, it's like what came most useful for me is a description by Rav Nachman Efrat that says, very, very famous saying, Lev shavur b'atzvut eno oto inyan klal. Okay, Lev shavur he describes as a heart that is broken, that is cracked. Oxygen can get in. You can be vulnerable. You can actually let yourself feel. Okay, you can let down some of your protection, some of the layers that surround you. Atzvut by Rav Nachman, that's depression, despair, the poisons of our life. Not just being melancholic or something like that. Like atzvut sounds. It's between being vulnerable in the sense that I can be brokenhearted, I can allow myself to feel, and the other side, the side that he says comes from the spleen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu soneh ota, Hashem hates it. Is those poisons that actually just drag us down. And when Rav Nachman talks about it, he continues and he says, well, really, maybe we should all be belev shavur all day, okay? And then he says, but he says, people like you, people like us could come from that to depression, to despair. And so his etzah is to be belev shavur sha'a achat b'yom. Okay. Now, of course, he doesn't mean a person should be broken-hearted 60 minutes a day. Okay? What he means is a person should have an allowance. You should have a place or a time or somewhere in their life where they can truly be belev shavur, where they could really face reality and face the broken parts of reality and connect and be vulnerable. How much is that? For one person, it's more. For another person, it's less. It's about being the CEO of our resources. Because he goes on and he says, and the rest of the day, we should be besimcha. And to me, it always sounds like, almost like a profanity. Are you serious? Do you see what's going on? Have you been listening to the news? What do you mean besimcha? I said, no, besimcha. Because those are the energies of life, and those are energies of doing, and those are the energies, that get you up in the morning and help you take care of yourself and your children. And yes, besimcha, because also, don't let anybody know, but there's a lot of things that we're allowed to be besimcha about. So this balance of having the reshut to be belev shavur, and on the other hand, liot sh'ar kol hayom besimcha, it's delicate, it's very, very challenging, but I think that's, in a nutshell, our challenge this year. And then he continues, mamash 2 lines later, he says, and sometimes there are situations where you meet somebody and you're besimcha, so you're me'ir lo panim, you shine your face at him, and for him, it's like a mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. He literally says that. זה כמו להנשים אותו, לתת לו נשימה. Okay? So, this, I get carried away from these words, אנחנו היודעים לבכות. לדעת לבכות is a big deal. Okay? And it's a treasured thing. And it's about managing it and managing our abilities with it. I had a neighbor, an older couple that came to live in our yeshuv. They must have been 2 decades older than everybody around them. They were the Saba and Savta of the neighborhood. And the man, his name was Reuven de Ros. Okay? And if you know Kayla, they're de Ros. And they were Dutch. And Reuven was a survivor from Bergen-Belsen. And after that, he had cancer and he survived, and he had cancer, then he healed 3 times. He got sick and he healed. And then the 4th time when he became sick again, so a group of people from our neighbors went to the kotel to daven for him. And when they came back, Reuven said, בזכות your prayer in the kotel, נפתחו לי שערי דמעות. מאז ברגן-בלזן, לא בכיתי. Okay, so since the camps, he wasn't able to cry. And he said, when you were in the kotel praying for me, praying for my healing, I got a present. The gates of weeping opened for me. And he didn't heal from that 4th time, but for the few last weeks of his life, he cried for everything he wanted to cry for. And I remember even then thinking, wow, what a gift. And something very strange happened to me. You know, Tishat Yamim became the festival of all the knessim, okay? So, you know, I don't know, because this is what I do. So I was in a few of these, and I don't know, over 5 different knessim, I prepared 3 different shiurim, okay? I let myself repeat shiurim. So Thursday night and Friday noon, I was talking about this, and I told the story about Reuven. And on Shabbat, we're sitting with our family that are also our neighbors. And as we were sitting there, my sister-in-law says, you know, yesterday was Reuven de Ros's yartzeit. And I said, I can't believe it. Like, Thursday night and Friday morning, I was talking about him, and she was like, this is not a person I ever speak about. And I was at a Levaya, but I had no idea that it was, because I don't even remember what season of year it was. Kitzel. So because of that feeling, you know, this special story that happened, I brought this as an opening piece, and I want to finish just a little bit more what it says here in the Midrash Ne'elam. We approach our mother's bed every day, and we do not find her there. We ask about her, and there's no one who looks at us. We ask her bed, and it is confused. We ask her chair, and it falls. We ask her palaces, and they swear they know nothing of her. We ask the dust, and the trace of her footsteps is not there. We ask the roof, and behold, the roof replies to us that she sits there weeping and wailing over us, and goes from roof to roof, weeping and crying out in a bitter voice over us. We ask the roads and paths. They all say that they heard a bitter voice of weeping that cries over her children, and they do not know where she has gone. It is fitting for us to weep. It's not there. It's not on your page. It is fitting for us to weep. It is fitting for us to lament. Let us kiss the dust of her feet. Let us kiss the place of her dwelling. Let us kiss the walls of the sanctuary, and let us weep bitterly. We will begin the lamentation because we see so much of this every day. We will weep always, or as long as it lasts, and the bitterness of the weeping will not be forgotten from us. So that was the opener. But really what I want to speak about today Don't worry, I won't go over my time. שיר המעלות לדוד, שמחתי ואומרים לי בית אדוני נלך, עומדות לי רגלייך בשערייך ירושלים, ירושלים הבנויה כעיר שחוברה לה יחדיו, ששם עלו שבטים שבטי עדות ישראל להודות לשם אדוני. So, ירושלים הבנויה כעיר שחוברה לה יחדיו. I looked a few times for translations. This time I made up a translation. I wrote sitting down together. But in most of the translations I saw, it was a city even compressed sometimes it said combined, but mostly it was with this sense of tension, compressed, city compressed together. And it was interesting because it brings a lot of things to mind, just a little bit darshanut here. The Midrash Rabbah says, that talks about Avraham Avinu, that calls it יראה, שנאמר ויקרא אברהם שם המקום ההוא, יראה, השם יראה. And then Shem, from Shem Chaman Yafet, Shem קרא אותו שלם, שנאמר הוא מלכי צדק מלך שלם. So this character מלכי צדק that we're always curious about, because he's not a Jew, he's not part of the dynasty there, but he's obviously a tzaddik. And he קורא בשם Hashem, and something's very interesting about his character. In the Midrash, he's identified to be Shem, okay? Shem and Malki Tzedek, the same person. So, Shem קורא אותו שלם, שנאמר מלכי צדק מלך שלם, okay? So, there are two possibilities of Yerushalayim. We have to say that in חמישה חומשי תורה, we don't have ירושלים. הנה, אמרו לי איפה את? Hi. Okay, so here it says, אמר הקדוש ברוך הוא, אם קורא אני אותו יראה, כשם שקרא אותו אברהם, שם אדם צדיק מתרעם. ואם קורא אני אותו שלם, אברהם אדם צדיק מתרעם. אלא הרי אני קורא אותו ירושלם, okay? כמו שקראו שניהם, יראה שלם, ירושלים. So the Midrash Rabbah sees the name ירושלים as a compressing of two different names. Abraham says, יראה, הקדוש ברוך הוא will show me, okay? And Shem says, שלם, and we put them together and we compress them, and יוצא ירושלם, ירושלים, okay? Now, I can expand here on the midrashic images of both of them, but in general, you should know, I brought here whatever, שפת אמת, בסדר. Basically, מלכי צדק מלך שלם is, שלם, that's his thing, okay? He's a tzaddik, he has a very high spiritual quality, and that's what where he sits in a whole place, makom shalem, okay? And to me it reminds, like, there's this Shel Silverstein had this book in Hebrew. It was called the Chaticha Chatzera Mapepet et Efes Hagadol, something like that. And there the notion was that if you're such a perfect circle, there's no way to connect to you, okay? It's just through the dents, through the scratches, that somebody finds a way to fit in, okay? But Malki Tzedek is Shalem, okay? He's sitting up there. And the Midrash says that Malki Tzedek is Shem in the Midrash, Nolad Mahul, okay? He didn't need a Brit Milah. He was already born complete, okay? That's a sense of being born into some spiritual darga and staying there in a very complete sense, okay? Now, Avraham is exactly the opposite, okay? Avraham is, first of all, the name Yira'eh is Hashem will show me, and then I'm running there, and Hashem will show me, and then running further, and Hashem will show me. And he's constantly in the lech lecha. He's constantly in this notion of hishtalmut, okay? Perfecting yourself, okay? You know the kind of personality, okay? I guess we all got it somewhat in our genes, this Abrahamic notion of constantly chasing this, becoming a little bit better, and a little bit better, a little bit higher, a little bit more. Now, these are very, very different qualities in people, okay? And somehow they're condensed into this Yerushalayim, okay? It's like a Kadosh Baruch Hu, according to the Medrash, says, I don't want to offend him, and I don't want to offend him. Let's squeeze them both into one city. And in a sense that's beyond just this Medrash, Yerushalayim is a city of tensions, okay? It's this compounding of different elements into one city. Mamash, by nature, it has it's very tense. And one of the people that got this beautifully is Yehuda. Yehuda describes Yerushalayim in many poems, but in this specific one, he uses the metaphor of an arch. What holds the arch together? Right? It's not glue. It's not the teeth. It's not, you don't lose anything between the. It's the tension itself. It's the pressure, right? You put the top, right? But the pressure, that's what holds up the arch. So Yehuda uses this image to say, I had it somewhere, here it is. ירושלים בנויה על יסודות כמורים של צעקה מאופקת. אם לא תהיה סיבה לצעקה, יישברו יסודות, תתמוטט העיר. אם תצעק הצעקה, תתפוצץ ירושלים לשמיים. Okay? Actually, not a bad translation, thanks to Claude AI. I said, please translate this poetically. He did a good job. I think it might be, I lost the first line when I copied it. Yeah, sorry. So don't use the translation. It's missing a line. But basically it says, Yerushalayim is built on the... It does? Like I somehow lost it. Yeah, okay, Basela. If there be no reason for the scream, the foundation will crumble, the city fall. If the cry is unleashed, Jerusalem will explode to the heavens. Basically saying, if there will be no tension at all, it will just crumble inward, okay? If there be too much excess pressure, it will just explode. It's an experience that I find often describes our social condition, right? We're passionate people. We if we all become apathetic, how would you say? Apathetic. If we become apathetic, the whole thing will just die. It will wilt, okay? But sometimes the temperature goes hot, so high that you feel like in a second it's going to explode. In the meantime, thank God, what's holding it is the pressure itself. Okay, so now I want to look at this expression, Yerushalayim, עיר שחוברה לה יחדיו, from almost a halachic point of view. Okay, so we'll start with the Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says, the beautiful parshaniyot here, the Radak and the Malbim, talking about Yerushalayim being almost the crystallizing agent. Anybody in chemistry? Sometimes you need, in order for crystal to grow, you need the first flat surface or the first crystallizing agent that starts the whole process. So here the Malbim, Radak similarly says Yerushalayim is the organizing element of this people. Okay, that has many different organs. Anyhow, I'm in the Yerushalmi, number 7. אמר רבי יהושע בן לוי, ירושלים הבנויה כעיר שחוברה לה יחדיו. Okay, so this is a quote from Tehillim. עיר, now this is the דרשה, שהיא עושה כל ישראל לחברים. Okay, so this expression, ירושלים, עיר שעושה כל ישראל לחברים, כל ישראל לחברים, something about this expression, מה זה כל ישראל לחברים? כל ישראל חברים. It's actually famous, right? It's a name of a whole school system, Kiach. We say it, sometimes ברכת החודש we say, it depends on the minhag. כל ישראל חברים. It also sounds to us a little bit like כל ישראל ערבים זה בזה, right? This, right? Something about maybe solidarity or yeah. It has a good sound to it. And many OM teach it. Here it actually has a halachic implication. It says, עיר שעושה כל ישראל חברים, we'll expand on this in a second. There is an elite group, mostly of חכמי ישראל, okay, that are called חברים. Okay? So if you peek for a second to, I have it here, 10, okay? From דמאי. המקבל עליו להיות נאמן מהסרט שהוא אוכל ואת שהוא מוכר ואת שהוא לוקח ולא מתארח אצל עם הארץ. רבי יהודה אומר, אף המתארח אצל עם הארץ נאמן. אמרו לו, על עצמו אינו נאמן לנו, כיצד יהיה נאמן לנו של אחרים? המקבל עליו להיות חבר, אינו מוכר לעם הארץ לך ויבש, ואינו לוקח ממנו לך, ואינו מתארח אצל עם הארץ, ולא מערכו אצלו בכסיתו. רבי יהודה אומר, etc. טוב, basically what this Mishnah says is, if you want to grow in the ladder of excellence in Shmirat Mitzvot, you can first decide you want to become a ne'eman. Okay, ne'eman is someone that you can always trust on Trumot u'Masrot. If you take a fruit from his home, you don't have to think twice. It's meusar. Okay, beyond Trumot u'Masrot, there's something called chaver. And Chaver not only makes sure always to do everything they need as far as Trumot u'Masrot, they are also makpid on Tumot v'Taharot. Okay? And this, after the time of Bet HaMikdash, there's still a few generations of Chachamim that make sure to eat chulin b'Tahara. Okay? So even in the time of Mikdash, there's Trumot and lo chashuv karega, but that means that you have this special group of peers that are very makpid, not only on the chshadim that they eat, but on the purity of what they eat. Now, purity in the sense of what used to be in Bet HaMikdash. Okay? Now, we have to say it's a group of people. I'm sorry, I keep on moving, huh? Here I am, try to nail me down. There's a group of people, on the one hand, they're all, tzaddikim, makpidim, machmirim, On the other hand, there's something very divisive about it. Because you tell your child, by them, not even a cup of water. Why not even a cup of water? Because it's tumah v'tahara, it's not enough that it's kosher. If somebody touched it, it could go wrong. So, this idea of, הבן שלי חזר בתשובה, he doesn't eat by us anymore, okay? That could be a very painful experience, right? If you don't eat the same mechsherim as someone else. But here it goes way beyond that. So on the one hand, it's really excellence as far as religiosity. And on the other hand, it's not simple. You can't even invite guests into your house because they'll touch stuff, okay? You can't buy from them, you can't sell to them. It's really, really complicated. Okay? Now, this group of chaverim, okay, the Yerushalmi says, I'm going back to our previous source. The Yerushalmi says that Yerushalayim עיר שהיא עושה כל ישראל חברים. There's something about Yerushalayim, if a person comes to Yerushalayim, you can consider him a chaver. And then it says, מעתה אפילו בשאר ימות השנה, any time of the year, if a person comes over, you tell them, it's, now you're a chaver for me. It says, no, he reads the rest of the pasuk, אמר רבי זעירא, ובלבד בשעה ששם עלו שבטים. Okay, שם עלו שבטים שבטי יד. So 3 times a year, there's a very special experience in Aliyah LaRegel. People come on Aliyah LaRegel, and in Yerushalayim during that time, you can break bread together. Okay, in Hebrew I would say, אפשר לאכול מאותו מסטיק. Okay, for the first time, you can share your meals. You can do what people do when they're close to each other. They invite people to sit with them. They share their food. They each one. Why? Because it's Yerushalayim ba'aliyah l'regel, and everybody is considered chaver. Now, what's the technique? How does that work? you could say we assume that people that come in Aliyah Regel, we give them the benefit that they're mishtadlim and they're trying hard and they're, it's not really that. Because we have Mishnayot here, we can read them inside if we want, but we have Mishnayot here that say, right after the Chag, okay, you take all of Klei Bet HaMikdash and all of it, Ma'avirim al, you assume that everything became Tameh in the Mikdash. Okay? You have to purify everything, okay? Because, everybody works Olim LaRegel, and it's one thing to say, Kulam po chaverim, to share food, okay? And that's like to grant them the status for the time of the Aliyah LaRegel. But really, after everybody's gone, you go ahead and you purify all of Klei Mikdash, okay? So there's something about the time and the occasion itself that lets us create this Kol Yisrael Chaverim, and it has real halachic, implications. The other side of it is the holiday is over, and we were so friendly, and we were sharing our food and everything, and we come back to Modi'in. Okay? I'm saying Modi'in because that's the definition of Derech Rechoka. So I come back to Modi'in, and I no longer eat the same food. I have to go back to reminding my child, we don't eat by then, okay? And you ask yourself, so what did we gain? Okay, it's such a transient experience. It lasted only for the holiday. I think it's worth a lot, okay? I think it's one of these foundational experiences that sets the tone. And sets, we have somewhere in the back of our mind, we have this memory of Yerushalayim, we sat together. Yerushalayim, it's like, we look at any Iruasi, okay, like Matan Torah, okay? 2 months later, we're down in Chet HaEged. Oy vey, what happened to Matan Torah? But Matan Torah is there. It's a matter of understanding what our capabilities are. It's a matter of understanding what we can strive for. Okay, it's a matter of embedding in ourselves this memory of we were together. Okay, so then we're at each other's throat again. We have this experience of achdut, and 2 minutes later, what happens 2 minutes later? But deep down, we experienced ourselves as one. We experience ourselves as being able to actually sit together. Okay? What's the idea beyond that? I think it's in a way it's a very strong effort to widen the tent. Okay? What does it mean to widen the tent? It means that if possible, when possible, you want your halachic tent to include as many people as possible. Okay? There are things that are beyond. There are things that are, red lines and they're not halal, whatever. You have to admit this not. But there's a whole miktzah b'halacha, a whole profession for poskim that is called limud zchut. Okay? It means if you ask me ahead of time what I think the best way of doing something is, I would probably tell you one specific thing or maybe 2 versions of it. This is what I think you should be doing. But if you ask me lelamed zchut, if you ask me how wide can our tent be to make sure that as many people fit into the tent, as long as it's possible, there's always things that are beyond the tent, then you see poskim, of course, it has to do with their personality and their upbringing and how much they think this is their mission. They do what we call shminiot ba'avir, okay? They go to long, efforts and deep, halachic, I think almost acrobatic efforts to fit as many people as possible in this wide tent. Okay? It's like saying, Ir Shilsa Kol Yisrael Chaverim. Now there's always a tension between the ambition to excel and the ambition to include as many as possible. Okay, it's not always a good idea to include as many as possible by lowering the standard. Okay, what is it worth if you get everybody to do Chamash Yechidot mathematics if it's not worth anything? If it's not what it used to be. Maybe there's a way of doing both. I don't know. Okay, but this is a built-in tension. But this whole notion that there's a time, 3 times a year in Yerushalayim, where we're really doing the utmost to include as many possible and say, עיר שעושה כל ישראל חברים, it's mamash a value to hold up. Let's see if there's anything here that we need to continue. I'm skipping a lot, but basically, I just want to show you one more place. If you look at number 9, okay, that's we read from the Yerushalmi. No, it's not this. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, it is 9. So this is the equivalent in Bavli. And he also speaks about this idea that in the regel everybody's considered a chaver, but then they ask, Mina hanemili, where do we learn this from? אמר רבי יהושע בן לוי, דאמר קרא, ויאסף כל איש ישראל אל העיר כאיש אחד החברים. הכתוב עשן כולן חברים. So there's a pasuk here that says when we were collected all of Israel el ha'ir, to the city, we were all considered chaverim. So it's a nice place to learn from, except this pasuk is from, if you look one before, from Shoftim, okay? זה הדבר אשר נעשה לגבעה, בבואם לגבע בנימין, ככל הנבלה אשר עשה בישראל, ואסף כל איש ישראל אל העיר, כאיש אחד חברים. Where is this from? פילגש בגבעה. One of the greatest traumas that we have in the collective memory of divisiveness, so it's interesting that the Bavli Dafka takes that event to learn the same halacha of Kol Yisrael Chaverim. Okay, just as a side comment. Tov. I need to hear from Zmira Hammer. No, she's asked. Okay, so I'll continue a little bit. Okay, just a few more minutes. So basically, what do we have here? We have this, and I think I said it, I'll say it very, very concisely. We have a model from Shloshet Regalim that is willing to take the status of Chaver, that is a very elite status, but also a divisive status, and let everybody, for this time, enjoy it. Okay? Why? Because there is a special ability to do special things in Yerushalayim Baregel. Okay? Because Yerushalayim has the power of letting people rise in their religious status. But it also shows us 2 values. One is the sense of limud zchut, of trying to make the tent a wide tent and include as many people as possible. And the other is that even limited time experiences, okay, that don't last for long afterwards, they leave the imprint in the collective neshama of Am Yisrael. And we should never, dismiss them and say, what was that worth? That just lasted a few weeks. Okay, now look what we're doing again. Okay, going back to tap into those experiences is the thing that gives us the power and the hope to go on, and even if it means to fight passionately for the things we believe in, it's because of that inner connection. It's because we care so much about that other person's opinion. So, couple of things to end with. There's there is a quote from Rabbanit, he speaks about creating chavurot. It's a beautiful piece, I didn't bring it. But then there's a sentence there that he says, the key to that, when you want to know how to connect to people, is ידע כל אחד מכאב חברו ומשמחתו, something like that, okay? You want to know what the key to become closer to other people is, you should be able to know what hurts your fellow Jew and what makes them happy. And you should be able to share. Now, sometimes we could really share the pain and share the joy. Sometimes it's like a zero-sum game, and your joy is my pain and your pain is my joy. But then, even then, there's, one step back. So let me at least understand. Let me at least understand what gives you so much grief and so much pain, what makes you think the way you think, and what causes you joy, okay? And often, the easiest thing for me to say is, oh, it's because you're blah, 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 blah. It's like I throw the whole, no, but if I can bring myself, and of course I'm speaking to myself foremost, bring myself to really listen. Okay, so maybe I can't identify with you at this point. Maybe our differences are so big that I can't bring myself to share this specific joy or this specific pain, but I can at least understand. Okay? I can at least have enough together with you so we can share this understanding. And the next step is actually going on and sharing it in before. So there are two pieces from the Gemara that actually, for me, they embody exactly this idea. One is from Ta'anit. תנו רבנן, בזמן שישראל שרויים בצער, ופירש אחד מהם, באים שני מלאכי השרת שמלווים לו לאדם, מניחים לו ידיהם על ראשו, ואומרים, פלוני זה שפירש מן הציבור, אל יראה בנחמת הציבור. If there's a time of pain, a time of hardship, and all of the Kayla Israel are going through something difficult, whether it's now or whether it's avilut al mokdesh even, and a person says, I'm okay, okay? So the Breita here says the two guardian angels, we always speak about them on Shabbat, they come to him, they put their hands on his head, and they say, this guy that didn't share the pain of the tzibur, he shouldn't merit to see the nechama of the tzibur, to see the redemption of the tzibur. And it goes on and it says, תניא אידך, בזמן שהציבור שרוי בצער, אל יאמר אדם, אלך לביתי ואוכל ואשתה ושלום עלייך נפשי. A person should, this expression, שלום עלייך נפשי, I'm okay. אלא יצער אדם עם הציבור, a person should feel the pain of the public. שכן מצינו במשה רבנו שצייר עצמו עם הציבור, שנאמר וידי משה כבדים ויקחו אבן וישימו תחתיו וישב עליה. וכי לא היה לו למשה קר אחד או כסת אחת לישב עליה, אלא כך אמר משה, הואיל וישראל שרויים בצער, אף אני אהיה עמהם בצער. So there's a story here about Moshe Rabbeinu in the war of Amalek, when he was picking up his arms and it became so heavy, they gave him a stone to sit on. They said, a stone? Doesn't he have a cushion? Doesn't he have a pillow? Couldn't they help? He says, no. I see them in pain. They're in war now. Okay? So I can't sit that comfortably. I have to take part in their pain. בכל המצוער עצמו עם הציבור, זוכה ורואה בנחמת ציבור. ושמא יאמר אדם, מי מעיד מי? Who will testify? Who will know? אבני ביתו של אדם, קורות ביתו של אדם מעידים בו, שנאמר כי אבן מקיר תזעק וכפיס מעץ יעננה. Who's going to testify? So it's interesting, here there's a pasuk that says, the walls of your house, the stones are going to shout. The reason it's whatever. There's another tradition in Fraenkel of another people that says every stone will scream, there's a Jew hiding behind me. Every tree will scream, there's a Jew hiding behind me. Here it says, no, the walls of your house are going to testify if you took part in people's pain. Okay, if you identified, and then it goes on and it says your neshama will do that. The other part of it is this notion, the next Gemara, we're not going to read it from within, is this notion that when a person shares a simcha, when a person dances in a wedding, they actually part in the redemption of Yerushalayim, which these two put together exactly that. If you share the pain, if you share the joy, you get to share the nechama, you get to share the geulah, you get to build Yerushalayim with your own actions. Do I have time for one last thing? They're checking. Okay, I'll start. I'll read it, you'll translate it for yourself. Last thing. And just as a closer, there's the stop me if it's terrible. No? Yeah? Yes? No? Okay. So I'm just reading it in Hebrew, you translate it for yourself. This is the first rabbi of Radomsk. Okay, so this is like the end of the 19th century, I think. אוקיי, הנה צריך כל איש להשתוקק בכל לבבו על ארץ ישראל וקדושתה, כמו שכתוב, שאלו שלום ירושלים. ציון היא דורש אין לה. מכלל דבית דרישה. Okay, so he basically says, if the Navi says that the worst thing you can say about Yerushalayim is that nobody's caring, nobody's asking about Yerushalayim, nobody's is passionate about it, nobody's, even sending her regards, right? So the Gemara says, Michlal de Bait Risha. What do we learn from this? That you have to ask about Shalom Yerushalayim. That you have to take interest in what's going on in Yerushalayim. They share with me. Go. אוקיי, ועניין התשוקה היא מועלת בעצמה לגאולה העתידה במהרה בימינו. מכל שכן בזמן הזה אשר בעוונותינו הרבים כל ארץ הקדושה היא תחת יד הישמעאלים, this is a long time ago, ויבלעו הזרים וירשוע, והנה באו גויים בנחלתך, טימאו את היכל קודשך. מכל שכן שצריך לקרוא לבב איש, לצעוק על זה אל הקדוש ברוך הוא, לעורר רחמים על הארץ ועל קיבוץ גלויות לתוכה בשמחה במהרה. והנה ההתעוררות על הזה של תשוקת הארץ, שתהיה באמת מעומק הלב, שיעדיף באמת בעצמו על כבוד ארץ הקדושה, הנה בזה מעורר למעלה הרחמים והרצון על הגאולה במהרה, כמו שכתוב, שאלו שלום ירושלים, על ידי כך ישלי אוהבייך. וכן רצינו בעניין פסח שני, במאמר האנשים, שצרפו מקברות לבם, למה נגרם לי להקריב קורבן השם, על כן נעתר להם השם ונתן להם מצוות פסח שני, כי על ידי תשוקתם הנכונה לפני השם המשיכו הלכות חדשות הנ"ל. הנה כמוהם, אם תגבר התשוקה בלב איש מבני ישראל, אל הארץ ובניין בית המקדש, if we're passionate about it, if we yearn for it, if we ask for it, if we care about it, okay, הלא חיש מהר יעתר להם.